What's up, everybody? We are back in action. Betting you overtime is upon us. Normally we do this on Thursday. Can't really do that because it's Thanksgiving, and the people demanded that they get their egregious picks on. Who are we to push back on that? So we are here. We're filming early on a Wednesday, but we're ready to rock. I'm Ben Raza. Matt Kajeski joins me. I just told you I already thought it was Thursday. I'm not going to be much help here. I'm all over the place, but we've got games to break down. We went through the playoffs. We went through some of the games that mean things. I want to ask you just big picture before we dive into individual games and welcome everyone. When you have teams that are just playing, do you change your process or do you just kind of accept that we really don't know motivation?
I think a lot of it you don't know. There are certain spots where if a team's on the cusp of bowl eligibility, say they have 5 wins, that's one where I think you can pretty predictably say they'll be playing for something. Otherwise, I think it's nuanced. If a team's like fired their coach already, that's a spot where maybe motivation could be a question for teams. But otherwise, I mean, it's college football. It's still high level. Coaches are fighting for their jobs every step of the way. You can't just give away games. And players are still playing for their careers, whether that's a college career, NIL money, or a future in the NFL. So I largely treat this as status quo unless there's like a bowl implication or a firing or something like that where there's clear nuance. One of them, I mean, LSU, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman, that's a fun one, but I do think that matters, which we'll get into. They're on the sheet.
No doubt about it. So I'm excited. Everyone, welcome in. Of course, you want to support us, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We have some actually really sick things to unveil during the show. Cannot wait for you guys to see it. We've been working hard on it, and it has just gone live. But let's start with Texas Tech and Texas. This is, a real game for sure. When we look at these teams, 12-point spread, 12.5 is bouncing around. Texas Tech has been, they've been playing obviously other Big 12 teams. Texas has survived and advanced. What are you looking at here?
I took Texas Tech, and this game actually, maybe this could have been on our first show. This means a little more than a lot of the other games with Texas kind of treading water, hoping some other teams catch an L and they can sneak their way into the playoffs. So they're certainly playing to preserve that one loss. But Texas Tech has been playing really well. And Texas, I still think there's a lot of holes in their game. When you look at power ratings, I think these teams are closer than a double-digit spread indicates. You've got Texas Tech 50th in offensive efficiency, Texas 23rd. On defense, Texas Tech is 74th, and Texas is 23rd. So, yeah, there's a gap. Texas is the rightful favorite. But when you start getting into like double digits and near 2 touchdowns, that's where I still think you can find some value on Texas Tech, especially because their offense, I think, can score some points on Texas. Baron Morton has been reasonable, 63% completion, 6.5 yards per attempt. Doesn't run a lot, but the O-line is doing a great job keeping him upright. They're 10th in pass blocking, 42nd in run blocking. That's also paved the way for Taj Brooks to have some success. We've seen Texas play a lot of really close games, and similar to Oklahoma, and really just outside the Oklahoma game for Texas, they're like 5-1 in single-digit games. And the Oklahoma one is funny because it's the only loss they have, but it was single digits. Otherwise, since then, single-digit win over Houston, single-digit win, field goal win over Kansas State, field goal win over TCU. And then they just beat Iowa State by 10 points in a game that was relatively close. So, I mean, offense, I still think is a concern for Texas. Quinn Ewers is a game manager. The NFL draft hype on him was laughable, and now it appears he's coming back to school. 8.9 yards per attempt. Really, that has nothing to do with him. He's throwing to Xavier Worthy, Mitchell, just Jatavian Sanders. And then the big-time throw turnover-worthy plays is very low. I mean, 10 big-time throws, 6 turnover-worthy plays just speaks to the offense not asking him to do anything. But they already lost Jonathan Brooks at running back. And a lot of these skill players are injured. Xavier Worthy's banged up. Jatavian Sanders is banged up. Both are expected to play, but at what capacity? Sanders has been playing through an injury all year. So you have Brooks out. You have other skill position players that are kind of the engine of the Ewers efficiency hurt in this game. I like the points with Texas Tech in this spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get how you're getting there, and we've seen certainly Texas not even just play down to opponents, but get in some real back and forth games. They have a lot to play for. I get it, and I do think they're going to win the game. I'm not really looking to lay north of double digits with Texas either. I'll be interested to see Florida, I'd say this is just how I view it. Texas would be ahead of a one-loss Florida State, but they would be behind a one-loss Oregon and a one-loss Georgia.
Yeah, I truly don't know how that would shake out. Texas Tech should have beat Oregon. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
and I think you're putting a lot of, not you specifically, but people that really view Oregon as this powerhouse team are putting a ton of weight into some bad Pac-12 teams being ranked. Utah, USC. Do you think those teams should be ranked? I think they should be in like the 25 to 30 range. I think you have a lot better teams in the SEC that aren't ranked. I mean,
I agree. I mean, that's just all where preseason perception still bleeds in. Where it's like if they weren't projected where they were, they wouldn't even be in that conversation. So
like Utah. Utah is not a top 25 team. I don't care what
they're
anyone
not.
says.
They're absolutely not.
USC probably isn't either.
I mean, USC.
Now Arizona might be like
Arizona, yeah, my boys. There's some good teams out there, but listen, I'm no fan of that. I'll be very interested to see how much help Texas needs, because they definitely need help. That's undeniable. I just don't know how much help they need.
I think they should be favored over Oregon. Not by a lot. Maybe like on a neutral location, I think it's probably like Texas -2. I don't know. 1.
That is interesting.
It's going to be I think it would be a really close spread. And I think I would probably bet Texas just based on that really weak Pac-12.
It's going to be fascinating. We moved to SEC. We've got Alabama, who we know has to keep winning, no doubt about it. And they get, I mean, I don't know what to make of Auburn right now, obviously. Talk about a look ahead. Well, they're here now and they're at home, and it's a competitive spread, but Alabama's really turned a corner. It's north of 14, though, 14.5 every single book that I see. Do you have a play here for the spot?
Yeah, I'm laying the points with Bama. I was lucky to grab a 14 before it moved here, but I honestly don't really care that much. I think this just could be, as you say, absolute biblical territory over Auburn. This clearly means something to Alabama. I mean, they have one loss. They also need to preserve this record to have a shot at the playoff. They need some help. Luckily, they also kind of control their own destiny. A win over Auburn and then a win over Georgia, I would presume, puts them in. I don't know how you lead out an SEC champion, regardless of losses. But Bama, I mean, this game means a lot. It's also Iron Bowl, tons of like rivalry stuff, historic matchup. But I mean, I don't know how Auburn even remains remotely close in this game. Alabama's defense is playing at an electric level. You could argue this is the best defense in the country. I think it's probably between some combination of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and then Bama themselves. Georgia, they've shown some cracks, which I'm a little concerned with. I'd put them right there, but I actually think I prefer the Crimson Tide defense. And Jalen Milroe, man, we've been talking about him all season long. And anyone that pushes back on this, I'll just break it down as easy as possible. He's averaging 10.7 yards per attempt. How would you like how would you like a first down every single time your quarterback drops back? Because that's what Jalen Milroe is doing. Yes, he has I don't know how to put this, man. Like every single game you watch him, he has a throw that's like, holy smokes, Zach Wilson could have made that throw. What did you do? And then all of his other throws are fine. 66% completion, 10.7 yards per attempt again. Awesome big-time throw turnover-worthy play ratio, runs really well. It's just like if you removed the optics of those couple like horrific throws every single game, I mean, he'd probably be in the Heisman conversation. The other thing about Bama is their O-line has played really well of late. They're soaring in the pass blocking rankings. Their pressure rate's now 28.5%. This team was around like 35% to begin the year. And I mean, crazy. You have a 5-star freshman in Caden Proctor, struggles a little bit to begin the year, and now he's gotten better. Imagine that 10 games in. Who would have saw that coming as the best offensive line recruit in the country or one of them? And I mean, this defense has stopped everybody except Jaden Daniels, really. So I have no issues with the Bama side. I think this team is just absolutely going to put up points and stop Auburn, who just lost to New Mexico State. They have a ton of injuries on offense now. Avery Jones, I think, is the main one at center. But I mean, this team, they've gone full Peyton Thorne, not doing a great job protecting him. His metrics are decent at best. Team can't run the ball. Now you're facing the best defense in the SEC. I don't see how Auburn keeps this close. I'm interested in like alt lines beyond the 3 scores or something like that.
Yeah, Auburn just no. Nope, not for me. Alabama's hitting their stride at the right time. Not that I need to get into individual players, but like Caleb Downs is just so incredibly good.
Another
And
freshman, like imagine he got better throughout the year. Who would have
he
thought?
is so good. It's crazy. Um, and yeah, you're right. He took some, he was out there in big time games early and not exposed, but obviously got better. I don't want to mess around with that. Yeah, at this point, I don't think there's an urgency to bet this either. You can wait and see if you can snag a 14. I don't think it'll ever come back, but if it does, certainly nice to have that in your back pocket. I will also be on Bama. Just a lot of things you can do with that line. You mentioned LSU, and you mentioned maybe like some Heisman narrative. They certainly against Georgia State looked like they wanted to pump up the numbers. Now they got the carcass of Texas A&M coming to town, 11.5 point favorite. What do you see here?
I want to bet LSU, but I wanted to get your take on the Heisman stuff. I was like fielding questions last week, especially in the player projections I do on the DFS side. People asking questions about the unbelievably high projection on Jaden Daniels and asking, like, can we really bet overs on him? Like, are you factoring in blowout risk? I'm like, absolutely not. They've been very vocal about getting Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels the Heisman. And I don't know, the injustice that is current Heisman like process where you actually need to be on a national championship contender, even though Daniels is clearly the guy who should win. But anyway, all this to say, like LSU is not taking their foot off the gas. They didn't take Daniels out of the game till like 4 minutes left against Georgia State, and they were murdering that team, murdering them. I don't think they're going to take him out at this point. Anytime they have the chance to play him and get him the Heisman. I mean, do you see this any differently than me?
I mean, I thought that LSU has technically, they're gone. They're not in the national championship picture. And after he took that brutal hit, I didn't think we would see him at all. And clearly, he wants to go. Clearly, they want to not only put him out there, but get him a comical amount of stats. Now, I will say that's not going to be as easy against, when you're playing Army and Georgia State, you can do whatever you want. Texas A&M's got dudes, but still, I expect him to be out there slinging it as long as he can.
Yeah, I agree. And to get into the actual football stuff, which, me, I'm not a huge narrative guy, but this one I do think is important just because they've spoken about it. And it's not just a narrative. It directly results in more or less playing time. So I think it's important. But A&M, they're on their third string quarterback. I don't know if we get Max Johnson back. Honestly, I think if you're an A&M fan hoping they win this game, you probably don't want to see Max Johnson because Jalen Henderson's been better, which is wild to say because he couldn't even get on the field at I think he was at Fresno State before this. And the guy stunk so bad he couldn't play there. Transfers to A&M to be the third string, and he's actually been competent. What I will say is his pocket awareness is absolutely downright horrific. It's crazy. Almost every time he's experiencing pressure, he's taking a sack. So you have so many negative plays in this offense now. And this offensive line is putrid. They're 109th in pass blocking. You're now facing an LSU defense, which is really good up front. Like, we know this. LSU is a horrific secondary, but man, they can get after the passer, and they've done so all year. And they have guys on the interior that do it, the edge. They're going to get after Henderson or if it's Max Johnson, I don't even think it matters that much. He's a turnover machine in his own right. And then on defense for A&M, a lot of times they win through their pass rush. LSU is a top 10 offensive line in the country. Daniels is the most mobile signal caller in the country. He's 1,000 rushing yards. How are they going to get home? They also have a new coach. I mean, A&M's already clinched bowl eligibility, so they can't improve their status at all. I don't know here. A lot of injuries. Also, Evan Stewart's still playing injured. He only got through 22 snaps before he had to leave last week's game. They did play Abilene Christian, so don't read too much into that, but I know he's not healthy. Le'Veon Moss only one snap. Josh DeBerry's not playing right now. There's a lot of injuries on A&M that don't help this team either.
No, and this was not easy to begin with.
I also haven't bet it. I mean, I probably should. That was pretty passionate.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So you can't find 10 out there. 10.5, a little, mostly 11s, 11.5. So it's kind of in limbo, but
I'm betting it. I don't care what happens to me.
Put it on the board. And speaking of betting, while you do that, I want to mention, I kind of teased this a little earlier with what we've done with Odd Chopper. You guys have seen the odd screen for quite a while now. And I've mentioned the plus EV betting, which I'm going to bring up. But what we've decided to do is really consolidate all our offerings over on Odd Chopper. This is always here. And this is part of the premium tools here where it feeds in real time, market-based approach, fully customizable. You say, okay, I just want NBA today. boom, it'll do that right for you, no problem. And then if you want other things, if you want other factors, you see this populates right there, sportsbook, blah, blah, blah. This is the power of that. But we wanted to bring this type of mentality to everybody. So what we've done, we've taken our Discord, our insider access, and we've combined it into OddsShopper. It's all under the same umbrella. It is brand new. I'm just going to give a sneak peek here. No one has seen this. This is what it's going to look like, where we're going to actually put our picks embedded into the interface. So you see, I dropped a couple college basketball picks for today. Simple as that. This is going to be the genesis of it. It's all under the same package. What is that package? It's right here. You see it. OddsShopper. You've got your weekly. You've got your monthly. Much more reasonable price point, and it gives you everything. We want everyone in this community, so we made this decision. We couldn't be more excited about it. And then, as if I didn't have enough announcements, it's announcements on announcements, and that's because it's the holidays. We're doing, of course, this is limited time only, for Black Friday, 50% off what I just showed you for the month with the code Black Friday. It's all one word. So when you get to the checkout, the links are below, by the way. You click it, you're checking out. Apply the code Black Friday, and you're going to see that savings pop up for your first payment. It is that simple. You're going to be getting our Discord. You're going to be getting those picks. You're going to be getting all the tools on OddsShopper, all combined. One simple package now. It's not you need this, oh, you need that, oh, you don't have access to this. Nope. It's all together at a much more reasonable price point. We couldn't be more excited. So take advantage of that, 50% off. If you have any questions, you let us know. But I had to get that out there. It's really, really cool stuff, and really, really good for this time of year with so many sports going on. Now, we move. This is where I'm going to definitely lean on you, because I don't know what these teams have left. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about, we got West Virginia and Baylor. I feel like these teams have played like 8 times. What is going on with them in the Big 12? Who needs what?
So it's not really a game that has a lot to play for necessarily. You have West Virginia already in a bowl, and then Baylor's boxed out. They cannot reach 6 wins. But do you think Neil Brown keeps his job?
Yes.
I think he's done enough too, but I still think he can't really afford like losses to Baylor, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'd be surprised. I'll say this. I would be surprised. I don't think it's impossible, but yes, I'd say he does keep his job.
I think he does too. But okay, to get into this, I think the biggest injury in the entire game is Blake Shapen. He had a head injury, so you know how I feel about this. But we did get a quote from the coach saying he's unlikely to play. So I think you can reasonably assume he's not going to play. This team has been injured all year, especially on defense. They've been down 2 starting corners, a starting linebacker. Those guys haven't played in weeks. And this defense is just downright terrible. 111. They're not good against the run or the pass. 119th against the run. That's the biggest number you need to worry about with West Virginia coming to town. They're one of the best rushing attacks in the country. They do it in interesting ways. They use Garrett Green as a mobile signal caller. CJ Donaldson's been banged up, but holy smokes, Jaheim White had an amazing game last time out against Cincinnati. And I mean, West Virginia recruits running backs well, so they have depth at this position. They're also elite on the offensive line, 9th in pass blocking, 57th in run blocking. They're just going to manhandle a corpse of a Baylor defensive line. And then on defense, man, West Virginia has actually gotten better, which has surprised me. I dove into like their game-by-game metrics. They're starting to play better in the secondary, especially. Their coverage numbers continue to rise. Now, they're still 101st in coverage, but it's been a steady uptick week in and week out, which has been a surprise. So maybe something to note for bowl season. But I mean, the drop-off in this Baylor passing attack from Blake Shapen to Sawyer Robertson, we've already seen it. We have a sample of like 3 or 4 games. So I think you can actually quantify this a little more than you normally can with backup quarterbacks. Robertson's terrible, and I don't think he can take advantage of this West Virginia secondary. So right away, to give you an actionable play, I took West Virginia minus 6.5. That was before the Shapen news came in. I was showing value on West Virginia. I think he's worth more than 4 points to the spread. So current number, I think if you can get anything under 10, you still want to take West Virginia, a team that already showed value prior to the Shapen news. I just think he's worth more points than what the books have adjusted for. So I'll take West Virginia in this spot.
And you can definitely find that there are 8.5s out there. So yes, it has crossed.
What did I take? I might have taken a bad number.
It's out there. There's multiple 8.5s. I see a 9, a 9
Oh
and a
no, I
half.
have 6.5. Sorry, I
Okay.
forgot.
Yeah. And it's crossed 7, but you mentioned with the news. I
Yeah,
get
that
it.
was before the news, and now I mean, I think he's if it's 8.5, he's worth more than 2 points to the spread.
I would agree. Even through a key number, I have no issues there. We backed this team quite a bit all year as well. Not that that means they are going to cover, but they have been good to us. I'd like to see them finish strong. It is a little weird, kind of the type of games that we do have to deal with this week. We go to, I mean, it's rivalry week, so you're going to see a lot of these, team versus team with the state attached: North Carolina State, Oregon State types. So this is North Carolina and NC State. You've talked about Drake May being one of the elite players in the country. Inside 3 points. This is a competitive spread. I know they're on the road. What do you make of this matchup between the two rivals in North Carolina?
I like North Carolina a lot. Both teams are already bowl eligible, but this is going to be Drake May's last game. I do not think he's playing in the bowl game. This is your future number 1 overall pick. Last game in a Tar Heel uniform. In my anticipation, I guess we'll see. He's been very team friendly, I guess, in the past, not hitting the portal, like respecting seniors, not walking in senior day, but he's not coming back. He's going to the NFL. And there's already massive advantages over NC State, a team who I don't buy. You look at their wins, a lot of them have come over the weak teams in this conference. They did upset Clemson in a game that was really noisy. Same with Miami. I think they should have lost both of those games. Otherwise, I mean, this team, I think, has played down to competition quite a bit this year. And I think they have a massive weakness in pass rush and coverage, 98th in pass rush, 55th in coverage. That's the exact opposite of how I want a team to be built against Drake May. This team is elite at stopping the run. It's how they hung in competitive games against some of those other powerful ACC teams. But we're now facing the best ACC passing attack against a defense that isn't really built to stop it. Then on the other side of the ball, NC State is 112th on offense. They win these low scoring, sort of gritty game environments. The O-line is bad, 78th in pass blocking, 74th in run blocking. Haven't been able to run the ball for years now. And the best part of UNC's defense is their pass rush, where they rank 20th. They're also 40th in coverage, so they're built to stop a team like NC State who wins through their passing attack. And then you've always got like the weird noisy stuff with NC State. MJ Morris, he was the starter after Brennan Armstrong gets benched, decides he doesn't want to play for this team, decides to redshirt, presumably to hit the portal. Now Brennan Armstrong's back. He can't throw the ball, but he's been electric as a runner, 522 yards. I think as long as you spy Brennan Armstrong and make sure you just absolutely like dedicate all your resources to him, who else on this offense beats you? So I know they're home, but I'm shocked that NC State is coming in as the favorite here, or excuse me, as a slight dog here. I'll take North Carolina anything under 3.
Yeah, 2.5s are out there, no problem. They're taking a little pressure, but you can still easily find them. I would agree. This will be Drake May's last game. You think there's no chance he comes back, right?
I don't think you pass up being number 1 overall, especially like with Caleb Williams shooting himself in the foot this year. Like Drake May kind of got a gift.
Yeah, I would definitely go. I'd be more shocked if he came back than if he played in the bowl. I think there's a chance he plays in the bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
But
a low chance, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Now we go. Here we go. We only have like one rule on the show. We break it every week. Don't talk about these bad Big Ten teams. Wisconsin and Minnesota. I think they play for something. An axe. An axe? I think it's
Paul,
that one.
I went there. I should know this.
I don't know. It's all there's kegs and axes and Paul Bunyan's involved. 2.5 point spread. I honestly don't even know what the total is. Let me look. It's got to be
43.
Okay, that's higher than I would have thought.
And the over's taking money.
Okay. Yeah, I see 42 on my screen. Where's the angle in this game?
So I came into I have my Big Ten betting rule is no betting Big Ten West teams unless they're getting 10 or more points or you're betting an under.
Okay.
So I came into this breakdown knowing I was going to take the under, and I've actually added a Wisconsin ticket. I broke my rule again.
Here it comes.
Always breaking it. But so it mainly came down to the injuries. I was looking at Minnesota's injury report, and holy smokes, this team on defense especially is just absolutely depleted. So I'm not kidding, Ben. Last week, they started 2 freshman linebackers. I went back and I looked at their preseason depth chart. One of these linebackers was 9th. their 9th linebacker on the preseason depth chart started against Ohio State. I mean, they're 2 good linebackers that have been playing recently. Maverick Baranowski and Cody Lindenberg didn't play against Ohio State. Lindenberg has missed most of the year with an injury. I don't think Baranowski's coming back. It's a wrist injury. So, I mean, these 2 freshmen and this 9th depth chart linebackers projected to start again. And these guys got absolutely murdered in the last 2 games. I mean, they looked pretty decent in the midpoint of the year. I mean, beating Iowa, beating Michigan State. They had some competent games, but since then they lost to Illinois, gave up 27, lost to Purdue, who had 2 100-yard rushers, and then, of course, they lost to Ohio State. So, man, I think these injuries are really important. Like, you're playing used car salesman at linebacker, and it shows. And it's not just that. Aiden Goosby's down for the year at safety. They just lost their other starting safety, Darius Green, in their last game. Man, when you're allowing 49 points to Purdue, I know Wisconsin's offense isn't electric by any means, but I mean, they can run the ball. They can run the ball way better than Purdue. Braylon Allen returned in their last game. I think like Jackson Acker is more competent than the Purdue running backs. The O-line's pretty good for Wisconsin. They're top 30 in both pass blocking and run blocking. I actually would argue that Tanner Mordecai's run kind of bad this year. His underlying efficiency metrics are actually pretty good. But yeah, man, I think this is just a handicap against the Minnesota defense. I am absolutely shocked to see the players they are using on the field right now.
Well, the Minnesota offense, I've seen Kaliak Manis play more than I care to admit, and it's not really happening. I'm no fan of Minnesota. I try not to bet these teams because it ends the same way every time, but it is hard to argue because Purdue is rough. And you mentioned
49 points to Purdue.
Yeah. Like losing to Ohio State doesn't mean anything. Like I saw some of that game and they couldn't move the ball whatsoever. But when you get gashed by Purdue, that's a problem. Big problem.
Yeah, dude. 2 100-yard rushers against Purdue.
He's not getting fired, right? Definitely not.
I think I wouldn't fire him, honestly. Like he's gotten some 4 stars and like getting Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman to that program to even play for that team as a recruiter should give him a long leash. Like Minnesota just doesn't get guys like that. So, and they also recruited Bucky Irving, who ended up transferring out. Like Darius Taylor looks like a really good player. They've had some good defenders like Boye Mafe.
They've been
like,
good.
He's done a good job like turning out NFL pros. Minnesota's a hard job to win at. I think you need to come in with that expectation. This team is very rarely going to play for a Big Ten title. They're going to be playing for bowls most years. I mean, unless you inject more money into the program and move the team stadium down south, like I don't know how you get good recruits there. So I think Fleck has actually overachieved.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly had some real good teams not that long ago. But all right, we got a couple more games. We'll talk about a couple other things. We'll go rapid fire at the end. Now we get like actually very egregious. New Mexico and Utah State. This game is bouncing around, and it looks like New Mexico is actually taking some money. Do you think that's the rightful trajectory for this line? And do you think there's any value left on this line?
What's the current number?
It's bounced to 6.5 at most spots.
I think that's fine. So I think the reason is Utah State lost their top 2 quarterbacks in their last game. Cooper Legas suffered a shoulder injury. Doesn't seem promising. All the coach would really comment is that he absolutely could not have returned to the game. And then McKay Hillstead sprained his ankle way earlier this year. When he came in, he just re-aggravated it. That's cost him games already, so it doesn't look promising for him. Fortunately, their backup, third stringer, I should say, Levi Williams, he actually has a lot of starts under his belt. He used to play at Wyoming. Now, he can't really throw the ball that well. He's an excellent rusher. He has 847 career rushing yards for 4.5 yards per carry, so that's pretty good. But, I mean, he's still your third-string quarterback. He got benched at Wyoming. He's now playing at Utah State behind an offensive line that is really, really weak. 108th in pass blocking, 114th in run blocking. This team also stinks on defense. They're 110th overall. No clear strength. So, I mean, this is a team that has kind of just overcome their deficiencies with pretty good quarterback play, and Legas certainly provided that. Hillstead at times. But now you're facing New Mexico, who has a legitimate offense. Like this team has been in a lot of shootouts this year. They're 28th in total offensive efficiency, really good offensive line. Honestly, 2 capable quarterbacks, which I wasn't expecting, in Dylan Hopkins and Devon Dampier. But this team also stinks on defense. So I was expecting initially both teams to score points, this to be like a shootout style. But now moving from McKay Hillstead and Cooper Legat to Levi Williams, two offenses that are pretty good, two defenses that stink. Which team in their current rendition is built to win a shootout? It's New Mexico to me. I think this game is interesting on the money line with the quarterback change, and I certainly think the points are a value.
I'm going to go on the fly here. Let's just see what this money line is. Bring it up. But
you might also be able to wait and get a 7 return.
Yeah, that is very possible. That's a good point to make. You got you're getting like there's 210, 218 out there. That's not bad. Over 2-1 on New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team is pretty decent. They just beat Fresno State in a game where Fresno State was relatively healthy. Mikey Keene played in that game. Prior to that, they had a couple beatdown losses, UNLV, Boise State, but I don't think that's any indication. Yeah, and I mean, Dylan Hopkins was out a couple of those games. So I don't know. I think you're buying low on an offense that's actually pretty good. The defense stinks. You have to know that going in. Like, you're going to see Utah State score points. You just need New Mexico to outscore them.
Yeah, you know what you're kind of getting there. I totally understand that as well. But a couple different actionable ways to do it. You could wait for 7. You could splash on the money line. Okay, I'm going to put that one. I have not bet that game, so I'm putting that in the Rolodex. We got one more game left. We'll go rapid fire, but I do want to mention also real quick, again, we are so excited about everything with Odd Chopper. I talked about that already. Also, Bet365, if you're lucky enough to be in New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, Kentucky, Colorado, and now Louisiana, welcome to the party. You get this opportunity. Bet 5, get 150. For Louisiana, it's bet 1, get 365. That's just bananas. Obviously, that's not going to be around for a long time. They just do that when they unveil a new state. But it's that simple. Win or lose, you're getting this money in bonus bets. It's coming right into your account, and you get Bet365, which is one of the best books out there. Really, really good pricing. Ton of options. Obviously, one that it wouldn't hurt to be able to shop with. Got to be 21 plus. 18 in Kentucky. You have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But again, links in the description. Make sure you take advantage. We wrap this up with Cincinnati and Kansas. Okay. Obviously, Kansas is the favorite here. I'm on the money line, so I'll change it in a second. But talk to me. These are teams that we've seen quite a bit this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find Kansas at still a -6, and I want to get this below 7, but I'm betting the Kansas side.
Okay.
I'll start with Cincinnati. This team is an epic disaster, and I don't trust their coach. He's made some really bad decisions this year, and it looks like he's poised to make another one, benching Emory Jones. He tried to do that last game, and unfortunately, Brady Lichtenberg got hurt immediately in the game. So they turned back to Emory Jones, who's gotten an incredibly raw deal this year. The guy's an excellent rusher. His underlying metrics are pretty decent. Like, a lot of teams would love to have Emory Jones as their signal caller in the country, and he's just kind of been the scapegoat for this offense, which has struggled in a lot of different ways. So I don't think it's entirely on him. But now he was asked in his press conference if we're going to see Brady Drogosh. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. And that should tell you a lot. I don't know who this guy is. He's the third string quarterback behind Emory Jones and Brady Lichtenberg. I think he's going to get snaps in this game against Kansas, which is a disaster. You absolutely do not want your third string quarterback coming in and getting snaps against Kansas, a team that's been awesome. Their 2 recent losses without Jason Bean have also been competitive. 3 points to Texas Tech, 4 points to Kansas State. This coaching staff is so good, man. Like, going out there, taking Cade Ballard and just putting on coaching clinics, man. Like, they made Cole Ballard, excuse me. I believe Cade Ballard's on a different team. Cole Ballard, they make him look like a legitimate signal caller, and he's a third stringer, a young kid who's coming in with good efficiency metrics and now averaging almost 4 yards per carry. The offensive line is solid for this team. All their skill position players came back. Fairchild was back. Grimm was back. And now Jason Bean is allegedly going to play here. Kansas is pretty fluky with injuries, but I believe it was a concussion with Bean. He's now had 2 weeks. You should see him back. And then they also returned Bryce Cabaldo on the offensive line, and their best corner, Mello Dotson, immediately comes back as a pick against Kansas State. This is their best offender at corner, who's now back in the picture. Man, as long as Kansas is motivated, which could be a question here. I mean, you're seeing their coach linked to other jobs. They've already made a bowl. But, man, it's really hard for me to back Cincinnati at this point. And I really like the number, so I'm going to play Kansas at 6.
Yeah, and it's there. 6 is still there, no doubt about it. Big fan of that coaching staff. Big fan of Kansas in general. So that's one. I think I'm just going to kind of stomach it as well and take a shot. All right, we talked about a handful of games. I want to give you the floor. If there's any rapid fire you want to mention, or if you want to just move right to our best bets, we could put a bow on this one.
I'll tell you some other ones I bet, but didn't get time to fully break down, but I'll give you the cliff notes. I took Old Dominion -2.5 against Georgia State. Old Dominion reaches a bowl with this win. They're also sixth at defending the run in the country. All Georgia State can do on offense is run the ball. So that is a huge feather in the cap of Old Dominion. And then this Georgia State defense is terrible. 120th in total D, 133rd in coverage. ODU is ranked 127th in offense, but I think this defense is bad enough where even they can move the ball. And the biggest weakness for ODU on offense is an offensive line that has been porous, but Georgia State is 115th in pass rush. So I think this is a matchup kind of tailor-made for ODU under a field goal. I took 2.5. And kind of, to bookend our regular season, we started the year betting UTEP. I'm going to close the year betting UTEP against Liberty +17.5. They've actually gotten good quarterback play out of Cade McDonald recently. He's averaging 8.6 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. UTEP has an amazing offensive line that's second in pass blocking, 7th in run blocking. Liberty, they have a great defense, but one thing they don't do is rush the passer. They're 72nd there. I also think it's a lot of points for a game that is really slow in pacing. UTEP is 98th. Liberty is 110th. And also, UTEP's no slouch on defense. This team is 67th. Liberty's 19th. To me, this points to a slow, methodical defensive game. And the value of your points goes a long way here. So I took UTEP +17.5. Tulsa, East Carolina. This basically just comes down to the quarterback change with Tulsa. Kirk Francis has played well for this team, 8 yards per attempt, double the amount of big-time throws compared to turnover-worthy plays. Tulsa stinks on defense, but they've also gotten a little bit better recently and healthier. They only allowed 24 points to Tulane, 35 to North Texas. Go look at North Texas box scores. It's actually pretty good. ECU is 133rd in offense, 47th on defense. They just lost to Navy 10-0. I want a 3.5, but Tulsa, I think, is the side here. Took Fresno State against San Diego State at -5. That basically was just Mikey Keene is announced as the starter, and San Diego State is horrific. You're buying low on Fresno after they played a couple games without Mikey Keene. I took Illinois -5 against Northwestern. They reach a bowl with a win, so I broke my rule again on the Big Ten West. And last, Sam Houston State versus Middle Tennessee. Took Sam Houston +4. Middle Tennessee is 110th on offense, 116th on defense. Sam Houston's 122nd on offense, 29th on defense. I know this team has lost a ton of games, and a lot of them really close in their transition to the FBS. But man, this team is just better than Middle Tennessee State. They should not be an underdog. So Sam Houston, I will close it out with them for the rapid fire.
There it is. I love it. Sam Houston State, a team I bet incessantly this year to 0 success.
You should be rich, and you're not.
I should be, but I am certainly not because of Sam Houston State. Final thoughts here. Is there one of the bets, if you had to give one or two, that you want to put on the board and highlight?
West Virginia, North Carolina, and I'm going to say Alabama would be my third for a top 3.
There we go. I like it. Again, we went through a ton of games yesterday, a ton of games here. If you have any questions, Matt_Gajeski at JazzRazDFS. Thanks again for tuning in. Good luck. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Make sure you take advantage of that Black Friday deal. It's only lasting through the weekend. We want you guys in, and we want you to save some money on OddsShopper. I'm going to just bring it up on our way out here again. Code Black Friday in the links below. But for me, for Matt, and for everyone here at OddsShopper, have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Have fun. Let's cash some tickets. Don't worry. There'll be plenty more college football with bowl season approaching. Until next time, guys, good luck. Enjoy. Talk to you soon.